So guys, today I will not take a 2 hour class because I have some urgent priority work. So I will take 1.5 hour class. So I will cover remaining topic tomorrow. So tomorrow we have more than 2 hour class. Okay.
Okay, Vikas.
Okay. So it's up to you. You want to start the class at 12 o'clock or like 11:30 is fine. I think 12 o'clock is fine.
I'm okay with anything. Rather speak.
Okay, we can discuss this thing at the end when we have everyone. Okay, so guys, today I will take 1 or 1.5 hour class because I have some urgent work. So I will cover the today topic in tomorrow class. Okay, so I have shared my screen and started the recording. So here you can see. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, we can see it.
So so in the last class we have discussed about the logic controller in detail, right? So which are the logic controller is used in the real time, we discuss all. Okay, so we will also use this thing in in the coming classes when we create a real time scenario. Okay, just try to understand what is controller, what are the different types of the controller when we adding this controller. Okay, so please try to do the practice at your end. Okay, because we have multiple elements, more than 60 elements we have in the J meter, which are frequently used in the real time. If you don't do the practice, everything is waste. And if you start doing the practice in 1 day or 2 days, it can't be possible, then everything will get collapsed. Okay, so whenever the class will finish on the same day, on the alternative day, right, you can go through the topics and please do the practice at your end. Okay, so we have discussed the sampler. In the sampler we have discussed HTTP request, not other. We have discussed the logic controller, almost all. Couple of them we have not discussed because that are not used in the market frequently. Okay, and we have not discussed preprocessor. Post processor is pending. Assertion we have discussed. In assertion we have discussed 4 to 5 assertion. Timer is pending. And test fragment, yeah, that I have to
We
discuss.
haven't discussed assertions because they have only taken logic controllers. Or sorry,
No,
controllers
I
only.
think in previous class we have discussed in the assertion I think some of the assertion, response
Yes.
assertion and
Duration
size
and size are
assertion,
explained.
duration and HTML we have. Yeah, not all, but some of the which we will use actually. Okay, and we have not discussed the timer and config element and listener we have discussed. Okay, which are frequently we will use. Okay, now in this class I'm going to discuss the config element. What did you mean by the config element? Okay, so generally guys, the config element is used to fetch the data, right, to access the data, right, and use that data in the execution as part of your execution. Okay, so let's see what did you mean by the config element. Here you can see we have different types of the config element, right? CSV data set config, HTTP header manager, HTTP cookie manager, HTTP cache manager, HTTP request default, and we have multiple FTP which are very important, HTTP authorization, JDBC, and a random variable, and simple config element, and user defined. Okay, so these all are very important. So in today class we are going to discuss a couple of config element and we'll try to discuss remaining one in tomorrow class. Okay, and let me call everyone last time. Give me a second. Guys, in JMeter, if you don't do the practice, everything is waste, because there are lot of element in the JMeter. In single day or 1 or 2 days, you can't learn all the things and can't do the practice. So whenever the class will finish, so on the same day on or in the alternative day, please do the practice. Okay. So where I was, yeah, here. What I'm doing here, config element, right? So I have shared you one requirement, I think in the earlier class, the API requirement. Let me go here, API document. Yeah, I think I have shared you this requirement document with you, right? So till now, what we are doing, we are using the recording controller. Using the recording controller, we are recording the UI action. Whatever the action you are doing on the UI, right? We are recording that stuff. Okay. And what I will do to explain the config element, I will use very simple example, and using the REST API, I will try to explain this thing. Okay. So you can see this is our requirement. This is our requirement, means REST API requirement. What I will do, I will try to map this requirement. Right. So I told you in earlier classes, there are two ways to do the performance testing. Right. The first one, the company will ask you, the client will ask you, they will provide you the application. They will provide you the UI application. Let's suppose they will provide you Make My Trip. They will provide you any application which you are using in your project, and they will ask you, go and taste the flight resource, go and taste the resource, go and taste the villas, right? So how did you finding the service and request call, what call it going to the flight and what call is going to the search? You are using the inspect element, and you are going to the network section, and you are recording all the stuff. Right?
Yes, yes.
Correct. So let's suppose I want to click on the flight. Okay, I click on the flight. What you are doing here, you are filtering out the call here. You are filter out the call, what is the request URL, what is the method, and you are mapping this thing into the JMeter, right? And the recording will do the same thing. Recording will do the same thing, right? Now in some of the project, they will directly provide you the request URL. They will directly provide you the services. They will not provide you the UI like Make My Trip. So they will provide you what are the REST API available. So they will provide you directly call, directly, they will provide you the request directly. Okay. And they will ask you to do the performance testing. Okay. So similarly, these all are the call actually. Okay, which you have to use for the performance testing. Okay, they will provide you, they will not provide the UI of this service, they will directly provide you the request. They will directly provide you the request, and you have to map this request into your JMeter. So these two ways are clear.
Yes.
In one way, they will provide you an application, UI application. You have to perform the scenario there using the recorder or using the manually, you can map the thing. And it's same thing. In both the cases, it will take from the network section. It will record. If you are using the recording, it will taking from the network section actually. And if you are doing manually, so you have to also get the thing from the network section. Okay. Now, in another case, the company, the client will, they will not provide you the application, the UI application. They will provide you the services. They will provide you the service request. What are the services and the request? Let's suppose for the flight. So what call they are using for the flight, they will provide you that call. You don't have to use the UI. Okay. Now, so this is one sample file which is provided by the client. Okay. Here I think the guys who is attending my API classes, so they already know this thing. Okay. So you can see it here. This is the root. So what did you mean by this one, guys? This one is the resource, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And what is this? This is the URL which is made from the protocol and base URL and the resource, right?
Yes.
Right. And this is the JSON type. JSON type means we are sending the request to the server, right? Sending the request to the server, and the request would be in which form? Either it is JSON form, either it is in XML form, right? So the client will provide you in which form you want to send the request to the server, right? And here you can see the method. What method you are trying to do? Get method. So if it is get method, what exactly means?
They are fetching the data from the server.
You are fetching the data from the server, right? And they will provide you the description. Okay, so let's try to map this thing into your let me delete. So I am adding inside the jet store performance testing. I'm not creating the separate test plan for that. If you want, because this is the separate service, separate service, separate service, right? But I'm not creating the separate test plan for that. I'm creating inside the jet store performance testing. Okay. So what I will do, I will go to the thread group and create one logic controller, that is simple controller. Okay. And put the name something like users, because this particular REST API will create the users actually. This is for this particular requirement is to create the user, to fetch the user, to update the user, to delete the user. Okay, this is for that. Okay, so what you will do, you will go here and add the users and save it. So your users controller get created, and you will move this controller here, right? And then right click and go to the sampler and HTTP request. Okay, now you have to map this thing. Okay, so what is the root? Users. And what is the method? Get. So you will go here and select the get method. Okay, now you will select the URL here. I will select the URL and pass it here. Okay, so now guys, you have to tell me what I have to this is the full URL, right? I have to split this thing. How I can? Tell me quickly.
Only base URL.
The first slash that resource should be provided in the path.
Okay, so HTTP, as I have to the protocol, I have to pass it here, right?
Yes.
And remove this double slash up to here. Now, after the first slash and before the first slash, it is the base URL. So resource where I have to pass, copy this resource and pass it here. Agree?
Yes.
Clear? Now, now you can see if you go here, now your body is not there because we are using the get method, right? and you can see this description is asking to you get all the users data. Guys, if you understand any of the concept, the things will be very easy for you. I have already explained you how you can add the scenario of the UI, how you can record. Now, in some of the project, they will directly provide you the call. They will directly provide you the request. You don't have to record, or you don't have to go into the network section. Okay, they will directly provide you the request. What are the requests we are using in this application? They will directly provide you, and then you have to do the performance testing. Okay, so both are the same thing, right? So are you doing the same thing in the UI stuff or not? Tell me. We have the server name, we have the public or not, we have the method and the protocol or not. Agree?
Agree.
And then what is the difference here? The difference is, again I am asking you, the motto behind of this thing is, we don't know the IT market. In IT market, you will get the requirement in multiple form. We don't know the exactly requirement in which form the requirement will come up to me. Okay, so their first requirement, they will provide you the application, and you have to record the stuff, and you have to create the scenario. And in the second scenario, they will directly provide you the request. Only difference is, in both the situation, they will provide you, they will in one case they are providing the UI application, you have to record. In another case, they will directly provide you the request. Clear?
Because if a request body is given, how that should be passed there? For example, can you show us one?
I will explain you,
Okay.
ma'am. This is the get method, so I can't explain the request body here. Okay.
Okay.
And ma'am, I think if you have attended the earlier class, I can't expect you from you this question. You can see it here. Introduct. Oh, I have not used
Query
body.
parent we have used.
Okay, okay, my bad. Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. I thought I have used. Sorry, my bad. So, where I was, I created one folder. Where it is?
Users.
Under sign up.
Actually, it was in sign out, I guess. We have created under sign out. In sign out.
Oh, it's move under sign out.
Sign
Okay,
out,
let me
yes, yes. I was.
move on here. Outside here. Yeah, now you can see. Yeah, users. So what I will do, I have already mapped one thing. Yeah, get, right? So tell me the proper name. Get the users data. So it will call to this service, and it will go to inside this resource, and it will fetch all the data which is created inside this users resource. Okay, so let's save it, and let me check the thread group here. What is the thread group I have set? 2. Let me change as a 1. I don't want to set multiple right now, so let me call. Where is the data? I have called user. Everything is correct. Why it not get called? Yeah, it gets. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see it here. Response data. Can you see it here?
Yes.
Right? So you will get the response. Right? Now what we have to do, coming to the next part, this request is the post where you have to create the data. Okay, click on the controller and go to the HTTP recorder, and do the same thing here also. This is your base URL. Copy this base URL and pass it here. Now remove this from here and pass it here https and copy this thing and pass. Clear? Now post method, right? Now you can see it here. You can see I did the same thing, JSON post users, right? This thing is done. Now you can see it asking the request body because you are trying to create the data. I will copy this data and go to the request body and pass it here. Okay, and remove the ID because the ID is generated by the server. Okay, so I have used this data. So I am trying to create the users, and users name is this which I have passed, users email ID is this which I have passed, gender is male, and status of the user, it is active user or inactive user. Okay, so let's suppose I am passing the user as a Mayank. Okay, I am passing the user as a Mayank and giving the email ID as a Mayank 123 123. So like that you can pass the request body. So I think in API classes I told you, if you use any tool, concept is same. Concept is same. Not guys, tell me there is concept is same or not. I am using different tool here, JMeter, and I have explained you in the Postman. So is this both having same concept or not? Agree?
Yes, Vikash, things are same here.
Same here. Like that, the things are also same if you use some other tool like SOAP UI, APZ, Cypress. The way of doing is different, but the concept is same. Okay, so uh, so you have selected the post method. Now let me try to call this particular thing.
Because port number is not needed here in this kind of. Uh,
No, port number is not needed. It is the port number is generally decided by your client or when you are recording any stuff. So in that case, we have to pass the port number here. Okay. In my case, for this service URL, we don't need the port actually. It is internally they have aligned the port. Okay. So you can see it here, guys. You can mute. It asking authorization failed. Authorization fail, that means it require the authorization token. So guys, whenever we are, so guys tell me, let me explain you the authorization. Can you yeah, you have an account in the State Bank of India, right? Can I access your account? No, right? Because I don't have the credential and the token of your account, so I can't access your account, right? So that is known as a authentication. There are two terms, authentication and the authorization, right? When we are, let's suppose we have the SBI, State Bank of India. Okay, I'm trying to log into the State Bank of India. What I need username and the password, right? So that is known as a authentication, to authenticate the user, right? If what happen if I enter the wrong username and the password, you will get the error message, right? You are not the authenticate user, right? When you are trying to access the application using the username and the password, that is known as a authentication. right? Let's suppose there are different example of authentication, like when you are entering your office, you are swiping your card, right? So what happened? The machine will identify your employee ID and it will verify your data in his database that you are the valid employee of this company or not. If you are the valid employee, then they will, the machine will open the door and they will allow you to enter inside your office. Agree?
Yes.
Agree, guys? So that is known as a authentication, to authenticate the user. And we have the different way to authenticate, like to enter the username and the password, like to our swiping card, right? Like biometric symbol, like if you give the thumb fingerprint, then you can access the application, right? By using the OTP, you will get the authentication and you can proceed further. So that is known as a authentication, right? Now we have another term, that is authorization. Authorization means when you authenticate the user successfully. When you authenticate the user successfully, so have you seen, guys, in your office that you can't go inside the server room or inside your your higher management cabin or inside the the storeroom? You can't go. Why you can't go inside that particular place? Any reason?
Restricted area.
Sorry, come again.
Restricted area.
Okay, they restricted that area, and you are able to go to your cafeteria, and you are able to go to your table, and you are able to go to the sports room, right? Then what is the reason behind that? In one side, you are not able to go to the server room, store room, higher management cabin, and in another side, you are able to go to the your table, working table, and the cafeteria and sports room. You are able to go there. What is the reason behind that?
No access to those areas.
You have the access of that particular area. Agree?
Yes.
Right. So that is known as a authorization. That is known as a authorization. After authenticating, after swapping your card, you get the access to enter into your office. Agree? Right? Now if you are the authorized person to go to the server room, you can go. You can go, right? So if you don't have the authorized person, you can't go there, right? So that is known as authorization, right? To access any particular thing, any particular object, you need the permission, right or wrong?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? So similarly here, to create the user, into this server, into the go rest code.in server, you need permission. You need permission to create the user. Okay, so how you can get the permission? You have the token, authorization token. Okay, so that token is known as a authorization token, and that authorization token you have to pass. Okay, how you can get that token? So let me explain you. I think I have already explained you. I am using this service URL. Let me share you this service URL with you. have shared the service URL with you. Okay. So if you, so the same thing I have mapped here as a requirement, right? So you will go here and go click here to access the token. Again, I'm asking, go down here. You can see one option. Click here to access the token. Google, select anyone, Google, and pass the email ID, and you will get the token. You will get the token. So guys, tell me, I have one draw, and that draw, can you open my draw? You know how to open, but without key, can you open? Can you take the things from there? No. So I have to provide the key. After then you can perform the action, whatever action you want to take. Like if you want to take it something from my draw, you can take it, or if you want to put it something in my draw, you can put it. So at least you need one, key, valid key, where you can open my draw. So that is known as a authorization. Here we need one token to access, to create the data. Okay, so we can take this token, and where you have to pass. Now the question is, okay, so let me delete this thing. Now click on the simple controller, go to the config element, Here you will see the option HTTP header manager. Click on that, and you can rename this header manager, and click on add. Right here we are using one key, that is authorization. We have to use that key, and here you have to pass the bearer. The spelling of bearer, is this correct?
Yes, Vikas.
Okay, I will copy this token and pass this thing like that. Right. I think couple of days one student asked me that how you can add the authorization. Okay, so like that you can add the authorization. Now the guys who is taking my API classes, now tell me, things are similar. In the authorization we are using, in the postman we are using auth, and we are using bearer token, and here we are passing the token. And in the in the JMeter we are using config element and HTTP header manager, and we are adding the key and value. Tell me, things are similar or not? But the way of doing is different, correct?
Yes, it's true.
True. That's why in my API testing class, I'm asking you, things are very much similar. Okay, now, so you can see it here. I have added one config element. That config element name is HTTP header manager. HTTP header manager. Okay, right click on the controller and go to the config element, and you will see the option HTTP header manager, right? And use this key, authorization and the token. Right now, the another thing we have in the requirement is asking that it is JSON type. Okay, so we have to add one header, that is content type. content type, type, content type, and which is application JSON. Let me copy it from here. Application and JSON. Okay, why I have used this, guys? The same thing you can see it here also. When we are recording the stuff manually, here you can see this thing, the login and logout is recorded, right? Agree? Of Jetpack Store application.
Yes, yes.
Right, when you go and expand this thing, you can see it here, HTTP header, and you can see the thing here, the accept they have added, right, and other keys and values they have added, right? So in that case, when you recording the stuff, it will get automatically get added. You don't have to do anything, right? But here you are adding the things manually. Right? So similarly, you can see for the other one also, sign in. You can see the HTTP header. You can see the key. This is the name and the value. Okay. So why we have not realized this thing in earlier scenario? Because this thing is recorded by the recorder. That's why. Right now you can see it here also, HTTP header. You can see the content type. Can you see it here, guys? You can see the accept. Okay, so this thing is already recorded by the script recorder. Now in this requirement, you have to map everything manually. That's why we are adding manually each and everything. Now why I have added the content type, right? When we are sending the request to the server, right, we have to ask to the server in which form we are sending the data to the server, right? So here you can see data is in which form, in the JSON form, right? Right, guys?
Yes, yes.
In the JSON form. That's why we are pass here application JSON. If you pass the data in XML, then you have pass XML. If you pass the data as a PDF, then you have to pass PDF. Okay, so right now I'm sending the data in the form of server. If you not pass this content type, server will not understand that in which form you are sending the data. What is the format of data? I think, have you remember one thing in the beginning of the class? I have explained you that when we are sending the request to the server, we have using one format and protocol. I think you guys have remembered. If you go and refer the document, I have teach a lot of things, man. Can you see it here? Let me go here. Here. When we are sending the request to the server, right? Sending the request, you can see medium HTTP, which is we are using here, right? And the format, what is the format we are using? The request we are sending, what is the format of the request? That is either JSON or XML. Okay, so we have to ask to the server in which format we are sending the data. That's why I have selected application JSON. Okay, now Now give this name, proper naming convention. Give some name here. Tell me what name I have to provide.
Create the users.
Create the user. So based on the action, you can give the name. So you can see data gets saved. Okay. Now let me call this request. You can see both the test case get pass or fail. Tell me. Guys, I'm just like you. I have not much more experience. Some of the person are very senior from me here. They are 10 years, 15 years experience. I have only 8 years experience, right? So I'm just like you, right? Even you don't know, when I start my career, I was started from one very small company, and I worked in that company more than 6 to 8 months. In that company, I have started without salary. Without salary, I have started my career in that company. And that 6 months, the company has not paid anything to me. Single amount. They have only providing the food in the lunch time. Okay. So in the 6 month, they have, I don't know even about the testing also. What did you mean by the testing? They have provided me the training, and I start learning the things. They in 6 to 8 months they applied lot of workload on me and the pressure on me. That 6 months was very learning for me and making me more strong, right? So in 6 months I have learned a lot of things without pay. Without pay, I have now I'm pay. The company is giving me the salary. I'm not able to learn any new things here, right? But my beginning of my career, the 6 month I worked for without without any salary, right? So that 6 month was very learning for me, and very challenges journey it was, right? So I'm just like you. So always try to give the answer, and either it is wrong or right, whatever the question you have. When I complete the topic, please ask to me, right? You are paying the money. It's my responsibility to clear your doubts. I am giving you the promise that at the end of the course you have 3 to 4 years of the experience knowledge. So that promise will fulfill if you do the practice, if you come with the question, right? So yeah, please coordinate with me. After then you can learn something. Okay, so you can see it here. The test case get passed.
Yes.
Right. Now you can see data get created. You can see Mayank email ID is this one. Okay, you can see it here. Status code 200. I told you in earlier class, if we have any successful response, the status code should be 200, means 200 series. You can see the status code 200. 200. That's why it get passed and it is in the green. Okay, now, so okay, now we have discussed one config element, that is HTTP header manager. Okay, now what I will do, let's move to the another requirement. Let's first add all the requirement. After then we can discuss the config element. Okay, why I'm going through this requirement. If I take the recording stuff, UI section requirement, then it was tough for me to explain you, and it is tough for you to understand. Okay, that's why I have chosen this path to explain the things is very neat and clean way and very simple way. When you understand this thing, then I will again explain the same stuff in the recording stuff which you have recorded. Okay, so
Because
yeah ma'am,
I have one doubt. So here you have added this config element header manager in under one controller, right?
Why
Yeah.
can't we add it in the thread group so that it will apply to all the controller with whatever we are adding, right?
Yes, ma'am. I will come to that point. Okay. I will
Okay.
come to that point. No worry. Okay. So what I will do, let's try to add some other requirement also. Ta, 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 ta. Let's try to add get the data using user ID. Okay. So in this case, I'm trying, this particular call will fetch all the data from the resource, right? Now there is one more requirement. Guys, can anyone can explain me what exactly this requirement is?
It is to get the user data using user ID. That is a
Yeah.
dynamic value to be passed.
Yeah, so this particular requirement is asking you can fetch the data using the particular user ID. Okay, so what I will do, I will go to the sampler and click on the HTTP request. Why we are using HTTP request, guys? Please tell me. Why not some other one? Tell me. Basic question.
We are requesting server.
Because you are using the HTTP protocol here. Right, so that's why we are selecting the HTTP request. When we use some other protocol like FTP protocol, like file transfer protocol, then we will use FTP. When we will use database protocol, then we will use JDBC. When we will use a mail transfer, then we will use SMTP. Okay, so every protocol we have this separate sampler. Right now we are using HTTP request because we are using the web service and web application, and web service and web application generally using the HTTP protocol. Okay, so let me delete one protocol, request, and put map this thing here. What is the method? Get method. Okay, let's select the get method, which is already selected. Now guys, use this thing and pass it here. Right now remove this thing from here and pass this thing here, HTTPS. Right now pass the base URL here and resource here, right? And in this double curly bracket, this means actually this data is a dynamic. Whenever you will see double curly bracket and open curly bracket and close curly bracket, that means that data is a dynamic. That data is dynamic, and here dynamic things are user ID. Right. So guys, I'm simple question asking you. You open the bank account into your banker, right? And the banker will provide you one customer ID, one application ID to you. When when the next time when you are coming to the bank and you are asking to the bank employee that could you please provide some information about my account, then how the bank employee will provide the information to you? Tell me.
with the customer ID.
So the bank employee will ask you that could you please provide your customer ID or application ID. After then I can look at your data, correct or wrong?
Yes.
Let's suppose 1 year back and the bank employee is not my uncle, dad or my wife, no one, no, he is not my relative. I don't know the bank employee. So can he identify by looking at my face? No. right? Correct?
Yes. Yes.
So he has to, the bank employee will ask to you that could you please provide your customer ID, user ID or any primary key. Based on that, I can fetch your data. Agree? So similarly, this call is for to fetch the data. Okay. So when you create the data, you can see it here in view result tree. This server will provide one ID here. Can you see it here? 1384.
Yes.
Right. So this is your unique ID, which is provided by the server. Which is provided by your server. Okay, what you will do, go to here and pass this ID here. And what is the ID? 11384. 1384. Now guys, tell me, when I call this particular request, what will happen?
It will fetch the data of ID 1384.
Everyone agree?
Yes.
Right? So it will fetch the data. Okay, now put some name here, the proper name. Get the users data using user ID. Correct? I have given some proper name and move this here. Okay, I have added this request, get the user data using the user ID. Okay, now now what I will do, okay, let's add only three only. I have added three requests, right? Three requests. Agree? Right. Now what I will do, if I go here and call, okay, it asking that the email ID you have already used. I have to pass the unique email ID actually. That's why I'm getting error. So let pass unique email ID and let call. You can see you are able to fetch the data. Okay, I have added three requests, right? Get the data, create the data, and create the data using adding. And let me add one more request, delete the data. After creating, let me delete. So I have to go here, and what is the call for the delete? Is there any delete call? Okay, now let me go here and check it here actually. Okay, delete the user. Okay, what I will do, I will go here and select the delete option, delete method, right? And I will do the same thing here also, and will go here and pass the here, right? And here I have to specify which data you want to delete. Okay, I have passed the thing, and here I have to pass the. Okay, now give some name here, delete the users data. Let me move here. I have moved this thing here. Okay, so you can see I have added four call, get the users data, all users data, create the data, and get the users data using ID and delete the data. Okay, clear? Now one config element I have already discussed with you, that is HTTP header manager. HTTP header manager. Okay, and that is inside which is added inside the users, which is added inside users. Here you can see. Okay. So whatever the key and value you will add, it will applicable for all. Clear, guys? So I have added the header here, right, inside the simple controller, right? So whatever the sample, whatever the request I have added, this HTTP header manager will applicable for all. Okay, and this we don't have individually add. You can also individually add, guys. How you can go to the HTTP and config element and go to the HTTP header, and you can go here and add here content type and application. Let me copy this value, application JSON, and pass it here, right? And again I want to add for create user. So again go to config element, HTTP header manager, go to add content type and pass the value. Okay, now
Why are we
go
using
to the
Postman here?
sorry,
We are not supposed to be using Postman, right? This is
no, I'm not using Postman, just I'm copying the value actually.
Okay.
Copying the value. Okay, because if you do any spelling mistake, it will not work.
Got it. I'm getting a little confused.
Yeah.
And where we copy
Okay.
the value of
Now,
application?
sorry, come again, sir.
Where the application, where you in the Postman, where you copy?
No. This thing actually provided by your client actually, which application type you have to pass. This thing provided by your client. So let me send you this value to you. Okay. Here, content type is equal to application JSON. Copy here. Copy
Yes,
the
but
value from here.
this value is on the Postman, no?
Yeah, actually in the Postman I have manually added the same thing. Okay, manually added in the Postman actually.
Manually. Okay.
Okay,
I
manually
thought,
I have added this thing.
I thought what
No.
is
Manually I have added because the content type it will provided by your client actually, which content type you have to pass.
okay.
Okay. So you can see it here. I'm going to add the header content manager, each and every request header. Go and add it here also. Content type and application JSON. Okay. Now go to the delete and add. Where is the config element and header, and click on add and add the content type. Now guys, what action I have did? Now you guys tell me what action I have performed here.
For every request, we are passing the request as the request in JSON only.
So what I did here, in every request I have added the content type and value by using the HTTP header manager, right? Agree?
Exactly, yes.
Now, so guys tell me, is this the common in all the requests or not?
Yes.
Yes.
So tell me, is this good way to use the same thing again and again?
No.
No.
No. So what I will do, I will use this thing at the at the hierarchy level, at the parent hierarchy level. So it will applicable for all. So that's why I have added inside the simple controller, and it will applicable for all the request which is inside the simple controller. Okay, let me delete. Okay, I have added individually, so I can delete the unnecessary thing. So I have deleted the unnecessary thing. Can you see I have reduced the stuff, reduced the element, right?
Yes.
And I have added this thing at the common place, right, which is at the parent hierarchy level. Now it is applicable for all. So if I added this two property like key, authorization and content type, it will applicable for all the request. So this is common for all. Now you have one question. You have one question. Let's suppose you will get such type of scenario where any property is applicable for the specific request. Then how you can add? Tell me. Let's suppose, give me a second. Give me a second. Let me open the notepad. We have request 1, request 1, request 2, request 3, request 4, request 5, right? In all the requests we are using content type, and the value is application. Guys, you can mute please. Application JSON. In all the requests I am using this content type. Okay, let me pass correctly. Right. So what I did here, I use this content type at the common level. Agree? And remove from all the places. Agree?
Yes.
Okay. Now let me remove from all the places. Let me add this thing at a parent level. Okay. Right. And authorization also. So these two things are applicable for all those values. Agree? These two header value applicable for all.
Yes.
Right. Now let's suppose if in your project you have any content type which is only applicable for the request to, not for the other one, then how you can add? If you add that thing at the parent level, then it will applicable for all. Agree or not?
Yes.
Right. Then how I can specify this thing at the particular place, at the particular request?
By using HTTP header.
We can use
Or,
module controller
no,
and
no.
move that.
We can add the if in such case
Simple,
we
guys.
can add the header
Simple,
manager
simple.
under that.
You can
add
add.
authorization after request to, for example.
So let's suppose we have added this key. So this is applicable for all. And let's suppose to create the user, we need one more header. That, so let's suppose we can add one header here, and we can add the value. Let's suppose accept is one key and value is something like this. This is one additional things which we have add for the create user. Simply you can add this thing individually inside that request, so it will applicable for only this one. Agree? Simple concept. We don't go much more complex level. Simple. Clear? Now,
Yes.
I'm asking two questions. If I'm adding this thing header at the parent level, so it will applicable for all the child. And if you want to add individually, then you can add inside the particular request. Clear? Now, one madam asked me that can we add this thing at the global level inside the thread group? Now she will give the answer of that. Now in which scenario I can do that? Which you asked me. Which question you asked me that? Now you give the answer for that. I have explained the concept.
Yeah, if we add in thread group level, then it will be applicable for all the, controller added below that.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Clear?
Controller or only config elements?
No. Let's suppose if I add this HTTP request header here, right? I have added here at the parent, and inside the thread group, I have multiple controller here, login, sign out, and user. So this header will applicable for all, because this is as per the requirement. This is common. That's why. Clear?
Yes.
Now guys, this thing you did manually map the thing. Now you can see it here. What is the demerit of when you are recording the stuff? You can tell me.
They're adding multiple
Repeat.
header manager.
I mean, if we want to add header manager for some particular request, we can't.
So if you are recording this stuff, it will add individually header manager, right? So it is again rework for you. Then we have to give the proper designing, right? So you will find out the common stuff and you will put that stuff at the global level. Okay, we will come to that point also. Okay, now you can see, let me add this thing at the.
What is the use for that? Why we've already added it at the thread group, right? We have added at the thread group. Why are we doing it again then?
What? I didn't get you, ma'am. Come again.
Can you just repeat what you said right now?
Okay, when we are using the script recorder, so can you see it here? What you are notice here in every request? What you are noticed here? This is recorded, right?
Yeah, correct.
What you noticed here?
We have each HTTP header manager in the recording.
Can you see it here? Each request having HTTP header manager, right?
Yes.
Right. So if you're recording the any stuff, it will not, specify the things at the global level. Right. It will add the things individually. So after recording the stuff, your work is not get completed. You have to check each and everything. The things which you can specify at the global level, you have to filter out that thing.
We have to do it manually.
Yeah. After recording the stuff, you have to filter out the things. What are the keys and value you can add at the global level?
I have a question. And
yeah.
if we not recording and we will put the for example we put the singing, for example we put the singing manually, not the recording. And after that we need to put the HTTP header manager manually, no?
Yeah, if your requirement is asking, if your requirement asking, you need the authorization and the content type. So using the HTTP header, you can add the content type and the authorization. The first thing, if it is applicable for the single request, then you can add that thing inside that particular request. If in your requirement, if you have multiple requests and that in all the requests we have the same header manager we have to use, then you can specify that thing at the global level so that it will applicable for all. Clear? Okay, now we can move to the other part. Now we can move to the other part. Guys, that's why I'm asking you, if you don't do the practice, everything is waste. Okay?
One doubt for me.
Vikash,
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, sir. Please tell me.
Okay, so the thing is that, I mean, how we do in the Postman, like we parameterize the things to get the dynamic value, dynamic IDs and all. So here, is it possible to?
Yes, it is possible. We
Okay, we
will
will see it
also
later,
look
okay?
into that. We will also look into that. Okay?
Yeah.
Fine.
Vikash, one doubt here. Here you have specified the thread group as one and run, right? Can you run for multiple members? Because is it possible? Because if you are running,
Come
it
again,
is
ma'am. What you are asking?
no. Here we have run this request for one, right?
Yeah.
But if you are running for multiple, it was already giving the error like email ID was already taken and the conflict.
Yes,
So
yes, yes. The same question the sir has asked me, the alternative question. Because if I create the fresh data here, that it is fresh. So in the first case, it will run. But when I run this thing as a 2, in the second case, it will get failed because it required the unique email ID, right? So this thing you have to make it as a dynamic, and the user ID also, which you are passing here. Okay, so we will come to that section later on. Okay. Okay, ma'am. Because
so we can't reuse the same data, right, for multiple
what you
users.
are trying to say with the reused data?
I mean, my thing is the ultimate aim of performance testing is to test with the multiple users, right?
Exactly.
To test whether if many users are hitting the server, whether this is stable or not.
Exactly.
But
Correct.
here, only one at a time can use this data, right? Because this email ID conflict is getting.
Yes, yes.
So
Correct.
how this can be?
Yeah, the same thing I told you. Like in coming classes, we'll try to create this thing as a dynamic, and this thing as a dynamic. After then,
as
when
dynamic,
you run this thing as a what number of user you can put it, it will not get failed.
Oh, okay, Vikash. Okay. I missed that word that to be ran as dynamic. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, no problem. The same thing we already discussed in the Postman also. Okay.
So we have to pass that from Postman.
No,
The
no, no,
dynamic
no, no,
data.
no, 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 no. The
No, I'm
Postman
not
is
understanding.
totally
We are using Postman to give the data here, is it?
there is nothing relation with the Postman, because some of the person are from the in the Postman classes, in the API classes. So I'm just that's why I'm taking the name of the Postman. The same behavior in the Postman also. Okay, so okay, let's move further. Where I was, yeah, users. Now this thing is clear. You can mention this thing inside the controller also, and inside the thread level also, thread group also. So it's up to you and up to the requirement. If it is common, then you can mention that thing in the common place. If it is individual applicable, then you have to add individually inside that particular request. Clear? No doubt, no question. Okay. Now we are moving to the next part, that is config element. Config element. Yeah, CSV we will discuss. Cookie manager we will discuss later on. HTTP request default. HTTP request default. Right. So let's try to discuss this property, this config element. Right click, config element, and you will see here HTTP request default. Guys, how the interviewer will ask you question in the interview. They will ask you in JMeter, how did you specifying the content type, which config element you are using for the header. Then which config element we are using? HTTP header manager. Now they will ask the same question in different way. Let's suppose you have 4 requests. In all, guys, you can mute, please. In all 4 requests, we are using the you are using the content type as a application JSON. How you can use this thing as a commonplace? I think the answer is same. You can use the HTTP header manager at hierarchy at parent level, and you can use that. So they will ask the same thing using different way. Okay. Now I have added one request, HTTP request default. Right. Now have you seen here, guys? Okay. Before that, is this necessary or not? Let's try to explain this thing. HTTP request default. You can see in HTTP request default, we have the same field which we are seeing in the sampler in the HTTP request. Same protocol, server name, port, and the path. Now let's try to understand this thing. So guys, tell me, in all these 4 requests, what is the common?
URL, the endpoint URL.
Endpoint URL is same, right? Here also same. Here also same. As go rest, and in delete also go rest. The base URL is same. Agree or not? The protocol is same. Agree or not?
Yes.
Agree? Okay. So guys, I'm taking one example. In request 1, you are using one URL, protocol, let's suppose protocol as HTTPS and server name as go rest, like that. Okay, this is your server name. Okay, the same thing we are using here also. 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 Agree or not?
Agree.
Agree. So we are using the same thing in every request. Agree? Now, one question I am asking you. Now, what is the URL? HTTPS and goRestAPI.com. Something like that. This is your URL. Okay. Now, guys, tell me, when you are working in the real time, how many service URL you have in the real time? How many service URL you are testing? On dev, agree. On QA environment, agree. On acceptance environment, agree. On staging environment, agree. On migration URL, agree. On production environment, agree. Agree or not?
Yes.
You are not testing on only single environment. Let's suppose the things are in the implementation stage. So you are testing on the dev environment. Now your team lead asking you, let's suppose this is the URL for the dev. Let's suppose I am adding dev here. Okay, this is the URL for the dev. Okay, and your team lead asking to you that you have to check this thing. Your client is asking you that you have to check this thing on the QA environment. On QA environment, right? They will provide you the URL. Okay, so what you will do, QA, right? And for the acceptance, what they will do? They will provide you the URL and you are doing on the acceptance, right? Acceptance, right? And staging. Okay, and migration. Okay, and let's suppose production. Okay, so in the real time, whenever any requirement come to us, we are not testing on any single environment, single service. In the beginning, we are testing on the development, then we have to also check for the QA, then we are also testing on the acceptance. It is working on the acceptance environment or not, it is working on the staging environment or not. Agree or not? Tell me.
Yes.
Right now, guys, let's suppose you use the URL here and you have tested on the dev. Now your team lead asking you, go and test all the request on the QA environment. What you will do? Tell me, what changes you will make?
Only the URL for QA environment. Because already we are having other databases. So HTTP go rest co.qa.in.
So basically, we have to change the server name everywhere. Agree or not?
Yes.
The base URL we have to change everywhere. If you have to test on dev, then you have to pass dev. You have to test on the QA, then you have to pass the QA everywhere. If your team lead asking you go and test for the acceptance, then you have to change for the acceptance. Agree or not? Agree?
True. True.
Now, let's suppose right now you have only 5 requests. In the real time, let's suppose you have 100 requests, 200 requests, 300 requests, 400 requests. Can you will do it manually? Is this hectic work or not? To change everywhere.
Too hectic.
It will require more effort or not?
Yes.
Agree? And let's suppose you are very active person. You are, some person in the office, they are hard worker, right? But they are not doing his work smartly. I know he is hard worker, but he is not doing his work smartly, right? So yes, he or she can do it. For the 200 requests, he will go and change it from every places. But this is not your smart work. This is not your smart work. If you have let's suppose in a day you have to test for dev also, QA also, then every time you will go and change. It will, yeah, every minute is very important for you. So it will take 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour to change. Right? So, and even also, let's suppose you change. So there is chances to do the mistake or not.
Yes.
Yes, there is also chances you will do the mistake, I am sure. Right? What you will do in that case, I will remove this all the things from here and use this thing at the parent level here. Right? That is the work of this HTTP request default. So what I will do, I will pass HTTP as, and what is your base URL? Go and pass it here, right? And now you can remove this thing from here. Remove this thing from here. I have removed this thing from here. Okay, I have removed this thing from here. Now tell me, whenever any changes will come, now you have to make only one place change or not? Tell me. It will get reflected to all. Agree or not?
Yes.
Yes, agree.
You have to change at only one place and it will get reflected to all the places. Right? Okay, so it will get reflected in all the places. Okay, now what I will do, I will create one unique data and try to run Mayank 1 2 3 8 and let try to call. Let's see it is working or not. I have not clear. Let me again clear Mayank B, add one unique ID here and save, clear, clear, overwrite. You can see it here. Get the user's data. Can you, if you go here into the request, can you see the URL? Right. Similarly, you can go and check. See the URL. See the URL. Oh, that's why it's running two actually. Let me change as a one. That's why I'm thinking why it's running two times. So you can see the URL. How you can check the URL? Go to the request. In the top, you have to select request, and here you have to select body. You can see the URL everywhere. It get reflected. Ignore the fail. Ignore why it is failing. Just try to concentrate on the URL. Right? Let's suppose in future you made any changes and you want to apply all. Let's suppose IE and C. Or let's suppose you have added dev here. Okay, and let's try to run everything. So it get failed because we have passed the wrong service URL, that's why. But you can see the changes. Can you see it here, guys? Dev get added, right? In the second one, dev get added. In the third one, dev get added. In the fourth one, dev get added. Now your team lead asking you go and check for the acceptance. What you will do? You will change simply here. Whatever the changes you are doing at one place. Okay. So and clear this thing and run. It's running. Why? Something we wrong we have did. Okay, do not use acceptance because it's taking some other thing. Use as a QA. Let me clear. Run. Can you see the changes here? QA, 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 QA. I'm not asking only the environment. You can also change the whole thing. It will. The basic motto is you are changing at only one place, right? Right. So you have added this thing as inside the simple controller. Similarly, if this thing generally we are same for every the base URL and the protocol is same for one application, right? So we can mention that thing at the thread group level. Okay, so you can use this thing at the thread group level. Okay, so it will applicable for all. Okay, and if I run this thing, you can see it here. Clear? Now you have the question, same thing. If anyone generally don't have, generally if you are using one service, one application for the testing, the base URL and the protocol should be different. So should be same for all the requests. Let's suppose you have one scenario where the base URL is different. Then what you can do it here, guys? Tell me.
We can attach it under that request individually.
You can add the server name individually for that create user or any request, right? Clear?
No,
Let's
Vikas.
suppose I'm adding here HTTP as I'm adding here, let's suppose google.com, something like google.com here, right? And let's try to hit. Guys, you can mute. Create user. Can you see the URL? And for the other one, you can see the gorest.coin. And for the create user, it is google.com. Because I individually added the things. Clear?
Yes.
No. We are moving to the next part. Guys, you can mute, please. Let me remove this thing from here.
Can you repeat, please?
Which one, sir?
That's why
With
with Google. What
things
is?
Okay, so let's suppose in your real time you have some scenario like you have 10 requests in your application. All the 10 requests you have the common base URL and the protocol. So you can use that thing at the thread group level, right? But let's suppose you have another request that is 11th request, and in the 11th request the base URL is different. If you do not add the URL, then it will add the common URL, right? And the 11th URL, the 11th request, the URL is different. It is not the common. So in that case, you can mention that URL and specify that thing inside the protocol and the service name, so that it will take that particular base URL, not the common one.
Okay.
Okay. Similarly, which I have explained for the HTTP header manager, same stuff. Okay. Now guys, we are moving to the next part. Yeah, this thing is clear because these two are majorly used, frequently used in your performance testing. So that's why it is very important. Okay. So you have added this thing. Let me move this thing as a global level also, header also. Okay. Now, another thing, config element, user defined variable. We have one config element, that name is user defined variable. Right click on, go to the config element at the top, you will get this option, user defined variable, right? So let's try to understand. Now this thing is basically used. What we are doing, we are creating one base URL variable. We are creating one variable name. Variable means to store the value. Variable means to store the value. And here the variable name is, I have clicked on the add button. it will get added and give some name base URL. I'm adding the base URL, this base URL. Copy this base URL and we'll go here and pass it here. Okay, I have passed this base URL. Now, if you want to use this value, if you want to use this variable value, you can use the concept of parameterization. You will copy this thing, you will go to here and using the dollar symbol curly bracket pass that value, right, the variable name. So what happened, let me move this thing here. What happened when when HTTP request default will run, it will go and access the base URL, and base URL is here, and what the value is go rest.co in. So it will take the value from here. Okay, and let me try to run this thing. Can you see it here, guys?
Yes.
Right, what I have did, I have created one variable. Inside that variable I have passed the value and I'm parameterizing this variable where I can, it's up to you where you can use. Right, I will explain you the some other way also where you can use. Just now only try to understand the concept. If you want to use this variable, you can use the parameterization. How you can parameterization? Using the dollar symbol and curly bracket and pass the value and curly bracket. So what is the syntax of that? The syntax is like that. Let me explain you. The syntax is dollar variable syntax. Okay, now let's suppose I'm using one value, I'm adding one value, that is name, and I'm passing one value, let's suppose Rahul. Okay, and I want to use this name in the body, in the request body here, right? So using the parameterization, you can use, what is the property name? Name is name, copy the username, let pass as a user name. Okay, let me copy this thing, go to the request body and pass the value here like that, and let me clear this thing and call. Can you see it here, Rahul?
Okay.
Right, so we will use this feature more. Let's try to understand the functionality of that. In coming classes we will use at a large scale. Okay, so basically if you add any variable and you will assign any value to that variable, you can use that variable anywhere in any place. How you can use that thing? Using the dollar and curly bracket, pass the variable name and you can use. It will access the data from there. Clear? So this is about the user defined variable. So this thing in the real time, we will use this thing when like create the user data. When we are creating the user, it is generating the unique ID, right? So using the code, we can store this unique ID here, right? And we can access that unique ID wherever you want. Okay, so like that we can use this user defined variable in coming classes. Right now, only try to understand whatever the variable you will add here and assign any value here. You can access that thing using the dollar and the variable name. This is the syntax of that. Okay, so you can see here I have used in the body, here I have used in the URL. So I can use like that. If you want to use anywhere, so you have to use this proper syntax and you can use. Okay, now moving to the next config element, that is CSV data set config, which is very important. CSV data set config. Okay, now let's try to use this config element. Give me a second. Let's try to use. So CSV data conflict is used. Give me a second. Let me open the document. Oh, sorry. Yeah. CSV data config element. Okay. See, config element in JMeter are used to configure and modify the sampler request made to the server. Let's do. I will not read this. Let's do the practically. I don't understand the theoretical. Okay, let's try it practically, and then we can read out the theoretical section. Okay, so let's try to do it. CSV dataset conflict. So in the CSV dataset conflict, what we will do, we will create one file, CSV file, comma separated file. Okay, in that file we will define the variable name and we will fetch the data from there. We will fetch the data from there. So let's suppose remove this name and here Rahul. Okay, let's suppose you don't want to pass the data in the request body. You don't want to pass the value here. Okay, you want to pass the every name should be unique. Every email ID should be unique. Every name should be unique. Every email ID should be unique. For the 100 user, for the 50 user, for the 200 users, how you can achieve. Okay, let's try to do that. So we'll go the folder where you want to create. So I'm going inside this folder and you can create one comma separated file, which I have already explained you how you can create the comma separated file in earlier classes. Okay, here you can see I have created one CSV file. You can see here when you go to the property, you can see it is comma separated. The extension is CSV. Okay, I have already explained you when I have explained the throughput, I think. At that class, I have explained you how you can create the CSV file. Okay, so cancel this thing and you have to create one CSV file. Let me delete all the data from here. Delete. So this is the blank CSV file. Okay, what you will do, you will put the name here, what variable you want to store. Let's suppose name. So I will create one variable name, that is user's name. Okay, and what is the value, and here I will put email, right? Email, put email, right? And here I will pass the user's name as a Rahul, and ID is Rahul 1 2, let's suppose Rahul test, Rahul test, Rahul test at the rate Rahul test 1. I think I will create Rahul test 1 at the rate gmail.com. Okay. So what I will do, similarly put the name as a Rahul test 1. This is the username, and this is the user email ID. So I don't want to add multiple name. What I will do, simply I will drag this thing, so you can see it here 20 and 20. So guys, let me, okay, the email ID is same for all. Okay, let me do one thing. Not get added. Let me try some other way. Not get added. Okay, what I can do, oh, I have to manually add. That's a very hectic thing. So, give me a second. I have to manually change everywhere. 2 and then 3 and here 4 and here 5. I will not use other one since I have to add everything. I will delete all the data. Okay, so can you see it here? Every user name and email ID is different, correct or wrong?
Okay.
Correct. Now save this file, yes, save this file, go to the JMeter, and what we have to do, let me again add, click on the controller and go to the config element, CSV data set here at the top. Select this file. If you want to add some comment, you can add, and then what you have to do, click on the browse. You have to select that file. What is the file name? Let me go here, and data set is the file name which I have created. Okay, so go here and select the data set CSV file, click open, right? So I have selected this particular file. Ignore this thing, this below property. Let's try to add only. Okay, so I have added this CSV file. Okay, now what you will do, where I am using this name, here the email ID, name and the email ID, here I am using. What I will do, I told you how I can use the parameterization. If I use any variable, I will use the same syntax, dollar, and what is the variable name? Make sure you will copy the same name, otherwise you will get the error. Copy the same name. Okay, I have copied the same name, copy the same variable name. So what you are doing here, and dollar and name, and pass it here. Okay, now how many users are there? 5 users. So I have to test this request. I have to test this request for the 5 user. Okay, what I will do, move this thing here. Okay, and here I have to change as a 5. Okay, change as a 5. Okay, now try to run this thing. Clear and run. It get failed. Why? Okay, I think we are using wrong base URL. Here QA we have passed. Let me remove. Okay, and let me also remove this value, username. Oh, it get deleted whole. Oh. Let me again add the user data config, user defined, and what variable we are using. This value we are using. Base URL. Click on add, and what is the URL we are using? Let me copy the base URL. Where is the requirement? And this is your base URL which you are using. Copy this thing and go to the JMeter, and where is the user defined variable? Pass the user defined variable here. Now things are correct, and pass this thing. Okay, by mistakenly it get deleted. Okay, now you have used the CSV data conflict and you set the 5 users there. Now let's try to run. What happened? Let's see. It's running or not? Clear. Override. You can see it here. HTTP. It's 2 times get added. HTTP.
You
Here
have
we have.
mentioned user defined variable as HTTP. You have to remove
Okay. Here I have to remove. Okay, I have to pass only base URL. Thanks, sir. Okay, so let's try to run. You can see now it get passed. So this thing get failed because we have not passed the correct user ID. So ignore this thing, delete and get user data. Okay, let's try to concentrate on create user data. Okay, create user data, this one. So can you see it here? Rahul test 2, right? And you can see the email ID Rahul test 2. And moving to the next one, Rahul test 3. Moving to the other one, Rahul test 4. Moving to the other one, Rahul test 1. At the rate gmail.com, and Rahul test 5 at the rate gmail.com. What did you understand? Yeah, guys, tell me, what did you understand here?
Taking values from the Excel file and creating new users.
Exactly. So I have created the users here. The user's name I have defined one variable, email ID you have defined. If you have some other thing, you can add it here. And you can fetch the data, you can access the data from the CSV file, comma separated file. It is not only username and the email ID. If you have some other, you can add it here and you can access. Okay, so in this scenario, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create new user every time with a new email ID. Okay, so I have created, I want 5 user to create, right? So I have created 5 user, and you have parameterized this thing here. Parameterize this thing here. When I execute this thing, it will get the data from here, from the Excel file. Okay, so
why was it failing the other time? Because
you can see it here when you go to the get user data, this ID is not that particular user which we have created. That's why. Okay. And that ID is already deleted from the server 1384. When you go here and check, get the user ID, let's suppose get the user ID, this one, go to the response data. Can you see it here?
Yes.
Right, because we have passed the static data here. We will make this as a dynamic later on. Okay, so that's why these things are get failed. right? If you go and check the report, you can see 404 not found. That's why it is in the red color. The green color only display when we have successful response, and successful response means 2 zeros reach. Okay.
You changed something in the head, in the URL, right? What was that? It was failing for the URL.
Yeah, because I have passed the protocol here. And what happened, the protocol is already taking it from here, and I have already also passed it here. So what happened, it will append both the protocol. So we have 2 times protocol. That's why. Clear? Okay. So what we will do, let's try to understand this other property, and then we can end this call. So do not leave, guys. It is very important. Okay. We will use this config, CSV data config, in coming classes also. Just try to understand how we can use actually. What is the purpose? Okay. Now what I am doing here, let me disable this thing, and disable this thing also, and only make the create user as a enable, because I am using the data here. Okay, make this thing handle. Okay, now what I am doing here, variable name comma delimited means, right, that means if you pass the username here, username comma email, right, comma email, then what happen, it will also it will consider from the first row. Right now the JMeter consider the data from the second position. Agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. If I pass this name like username and password, so it will consider from the first position. Right. So let's try to execute. We have 5 user, and let's try to execute. All the test case will get failed because it required unique ID, right? So unique email ID. So ignore this thing. We'll try to look at the request body. Can you see it here? Username or email? It's taking the data from the first row. Can you see it here?
Yes.
Right. So if we pass the name of the first row here, then your data will picked up from the first row. Otherwise, second, if you not pass any value. So generally we are not passing. Okay. Now move to the second part. Delimiter, you can see delimiter, you can see the comma, right? Because it is CSV file, comma separated file. That's why they are using default as a comma. Default as a comma. Okay. Allow quoted data. Allow quoted data, you can see the value as a false, right? Allow quoted data means if in your file, if you pass anything as a double quote, right? So it will, if you pass here false, then it will not take this quoted value, right? If you pass this thing as a true, then it will take the quoted value. Okay, let's try to do it. I have passed the allow quoted as a true. Okay, let's try to run. Which name I have used? Rahul test 1. Where is the Rahul test 1? It not get added. It's not taking. What exactly? Okay, okay.
It's
So
accepting.
yeah, it accepting. Allow quoted data means if you pass as a true, then if any value you have defined inside the string, inside the double quote, so it will accept if you add this thing. It will not add append the additionally quoted, right?
Yes, yes.
It will add the value only. Okay, and if you select as a false, let's see what happened. What happened? Rahul test 1. Nothing different. Strange. False you have selected. Let me save this thing.
It's adding quotes to all the data now.
No, no, no. Give me a second. It's in both the case true or false. I think it's behaving same behavior. Because generally long time back I have used, so I forget the functionality of allow quoted data. What exactly mean? True, because generally we are not using, we are using the default as a false actually. What exactly means? Okay, guys, I will check and I will let you know in tomorrow class. Okay,
You save
I
them
will explain you.
as CSV file.
I have not said. Let me say it.
Just asking.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. I think that is the reason. Let's try it as a false and try it run. Try to run. Let's see. You can see it here. If it is false, you can see it here. It will add externally. Externally, it will add double quote. Right. So like that it works. But I will again explain you this thing tomorrow. Right. No problem. So come to the next side. Because we are not using this thing majorly, rarely we are using. Okay. So that's why I forget like what is the exact behavior of that. If I let's suppose true, let's see what happened. Let's see, we have the clear picture then. True, I have selected true and clear this thing, and let's try to call. It's behaving same or different? True, where is the one? You can see it here. Rahul test 1, and in when I select false, it was one extra double quote there. And here we have only one double quote here. Okay, so I think that means that if it is true, whatever the value you will add here, it will get appended the same thing, right? If it is false, then it will append one more quote, I think. Okay, but anyhow, I am also not confident about that, so I will not pass you the wrong information. Okay, I will discuss this thing tomorrow. Okay, and this thing is not that much of important, we are not using rarely. So now this thing we are using, recycle of EOF. Try to understand, guys. EOF means end of file. Recycle of EOF. Okay, so let's suppose EOF, if I select true, then what happened? How many data I have used here? Let me change this thing. Guys, how many data I have used here? 5. Agree?
Yes, I did.
Right. And if this value is true, then what happened? If I pass 5, then what happened? all the 5 will get executed. Correct. Now, if I pass more than 5, why means more than this number which I have mentioned here. 5, let's suppose I am mentioning here 6, and this value is true. Recycle of EOF, end of 5. What happened when it will come first? It will execute first user, second user, third user, fourth user, fifth user. Now we have one extra user, that is sixth user. Then what happens if this value is true? Then it will again start from the first. Or it will take any value. So again it will take value. Okay, let's see what happened. So I have passed as a true, and in default I have passed as a 6 and try to run. Rahul 2, test 2, Rahul test 1, Rahul test 3, Rahul test 4, Rahul test 5, and this is the sixth user, Rahul test 1. What you noticed here, guys? So when this value is true, so first it will execute all this value, then it will one user get left, so it will take it from here. Okay, now if I make this value as a false, then what happened? Let's see. You can see it here. Rahul test 2, Rahul test 1, Rahul test 3, Rahul test 5, and Rahul test 4. You can see the value. It not take any value.
It's terminating there only.
So it will not take any value. So generally we are selecting this as a true. Okay, so if you select false, the last value which is left, so it will consider as a invalid, something like that.
Because if it is true, then the data will take the same data of first one, right? So it will end with again error because the data conflict.
Yeah, that is data conflict, that I agree. I'm explaining about how the data will picked up actually.
Yes, I got that point.
How the,
And it needs
but
another
yeah,
run also.
if
That is, it's running again.
let's suppose, yeah, it's running again. Let's suppose you can pass the duplicate data. So tell me, in that case you will get error? No, right? If you can pass not any user value, means sorry, any unique value, you don't have to pass. The requirement is you don't have to pass any value. You can create the duplicate data also, right? So in that case it will work or not? The test case
Yes,
will get
yes.
passed or not?
Yes, that case it will be fine.
Pass, right?
Oh.
So guys, you can mute. I'm going to end the class. Give me for a few more minutes. So that is the meaning of that. Guys, you can mute, please. So if you select true, so it will execute all the user which you have mentioned here. And let's suppose you have mentioned greater than that number. If it is less than, then it's okay. It will execute up to that user. If it is more than, then it will again start from the top. Okay. If it is false, then it will take default value, that is EOF. It will not start from the top. Okay. Now, coming to here, stop thread on EOF. What exactly mean? Stop thread on EOF. So that means that if this value is true, recycle EOF is true. If I select this value as a true, if I select this value as a true, then okay, if this value as a false, recycle of EOF is false, right? And stop thread is EOF is true. Then what happened? What happened if you pass 5 users here, right? If you pass 5 users here, when your number of user get completed, it will stop your execution. Even you pass here 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, more than this number, right? Let's suppose the number of user is 5 here, and here you have passed 6, and in the CSV dataset config, recycle EOF is false, EOF is false, and stop thread EOF is true. Means stop thread EOF means stop the thread when it's come to the end of the user, last user, right? So let's try to run. Can you see the number of thread here? Number of requests? How many requests are there?
5.
5. And I have passed the number of thread here 6. So what happened? What happened? What happened? If recycle EOF is false, that is you are not recycling the things. You are not recycling the things, and stop thread EOF is false, right? So what happened? It will stop your thread to execute, right? When it's come to the last level, last user, your execution will get stopped. If I, let's suppose here I will pass 10 here, and the number of user is 5, right? Let's try to run. Okay, close this thing and try to run. What happened? Let's see. Can you see it only executed 5 times? So what happened if recycle EOF is false? Recycle EOF false means you will not recycle the things if it is false. And stop thread EOF is true. Stop thread EOF true means it will stop the execution when it come to the last user. Okay, so that's why it executed only 5 times. Okay, now what I am doing here, config element set as a false. Stop thread EOF is false. Then let's see what happened. Can you see it here, guys? It is more than the number of user. I have mentioned here 10, right? So that's why it's executing 10 times here. 10 times, right? And you can see it here. EOF, 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 EOF. Now it will take only 5 user will take this value, right? And you will say the 4, 2, 1, and 3, right? Because recycle of EOF is false. So which I have already explained you. If it is false, then it will take the values as a EOF, and you are not stopping this thing. It is false. So that's why it recycled. Your execution is recycled. It recycled, but it's taking the values as a EUF. You can see it here. Okay. In tomorrow class, we will discuss the sharing mode. I think it's all done. So we can discuss this thing in tomorrow class, the other config element, and we'll discuss the other config also. Config element, we have multiple configs element. We will discuss one by one, and we'll also discuss the timer. Okay, in tomorrow class. Okay, so guys, please do the practice. I know everything is get collapsing in your mind. So if you don't do the practice, your concept will not get clear. Okay, so thank you guys. I forget I have to take only 1 hour class or 1.5 hour. Sorry, I totally forget. Yeah.
Yeah, can you send the updated document performance, because that document only has till controllers.
Yeah, still I will share this thing, ma'am, tomorrow in tomorrow class, because this thing is incomplete actually.
No worries.
In tomorrow
No
class,
worries,
I will updated one I will share with you.
Sure, thank you.
In tomorrow. Yeah.
Vikash, in short, can
Any
you please
query
tell
question?
how to create the CSV file?
Sorry, come again.
In short, can you please tell how to create the CSV file?
Okay, you want to know how to create the CSV file. Okay, let me again explain. Okay, if you have Microsoft PowerPoint, so go and right click new and click on the Microsoft Excel, right? And give some name here and open this file. Open this file, click on save as. Click on save as, select here CSV, comma here, CSV, comma delimited here, this option, and save. Okay, yes. Okay, so you can able to create that data. Let me, and we have one other way also. Let me, you can see it here. This file get created. Okay, if you go and check, comma separated CSV file. Okay, and in some time, if you click on the notepad, no text note, and you can go here, give some name here .csv. It will work. Not work. Give me a second.
Is the general CSV file?
No. It's not an CSV. Okay. What I will do here? Cancel this thing. What I will do here, open this file here, save as all file, click here. No. I think that is the one way actually. We have other way also, but this is the simple way actually. Okay, which I have told you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other query, guys? So we can meet tomorrow in the same time.
Can you open JMeter once?
Sorry, come again.
Can you open JMeter once?
You want to open the JMeter, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
CSV.
I have closed my JMeter. So you want to go to the program file and where you have installed your JMeter, go to that particular folder, go to the Apache JMeter bin folder, and you will see here bat command here, window batch command, this file, window batch command. So you have to click on this file. So your JMeter will get open. Okay. And if you don't want to do every time, create the shortcut and move this shortcut into your desktop. So which I have already moved. You can see it here. Here you can see.
Yeah, can you open this once? Actually,
This one?
I have. Yes.
Okay, let me close this one and let me open. Yeah.
Yes. Like we have done CSV, अभी जिसमें हमने CSV का अभी देखा ना, उसमें एक चीज थी, edit false, true and edit.
हाँ.
क्या था?
Okay. Sir, your voice is not clear here. You are breaking.
हाँ. बिकॉज अभी हमने वो देखा था CSV फाइल को, हमने जैसे एंड ऑफ फाइल ट्रू किया था, फॉल्स किया था, उसमें एक ऑप्शन और होता है, एडिट.
Edit.
हाँ जी.
या ट्रू फॉल्स के साथ एक एडिट ऑप्शन भी है उसमें ना.
हाँ, edit भी है.
What is that
ये रहा.
exactly? Yeah, true false and edit.
ये रहा edit.
यस.
Yes.
राइट. एडिट में हम यहाँ पे हम पैरामीटराइजेशन यूज करेंगे, ये मैं आपको बाद में बताता हूँ. ठीक है, इसको कैसे यूज करते हैं. ठीक है, इसको पैरामीटराइजेशन से हम यूज करते हैं. जैसे ये हर एक में है, तो कोई भी वैल्यू आप सपोज डिफ़ॉल्ट यूज करना चाहते हो. लेट सपोज आपकी एग्जीक्यूशन हो गई, ठीक है, और आप इसमें कुछ अपना वैल्यू पास करना चाहते हो, तो इस केस में हम एडिट का यूज करते हैं. वो मैं आपको बता दूंगा. ठीक है,
चलेगा. थैंक यू विकास.
थैंक यू सर.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.